To Transwest Truck Trailer RV of Frederick, Colorado. My name's Mark. I'm going to be pointing out some of the features of a 2020 Winnebago Forza today. One of the reasons I picked a Forza is because it's more of an entry-level diesel. I think we all kind of get into the high-dollar stuff and showing you all the fancy motorhomes, but there's a definite market for what we might call an entry-level diesel, and I'll go around and point out some of those features as we go. One of the things I'd like to point out about Winnebago, they do some very unique things. I'm going to start right here with the windshield and point out that this windshield, as you can see, is directly mounted epoxy to the steel frame, where most companies, they have a rubber seal around it. If the motorhome twists or gets tweaked a little bit, it can pop a corner out, but this won't, and it really helps with the structural integrity that way. Winnebago is known for putting a lot of steel in its roll cage to try to make a safer coach for you, and this windshield is just one example of that. As long as we're here, I'm going to pop the hood and show you a couple of things real quick. There's a handle right down here in this compartment. What we have, as in the front of most diesel pushers, is your generator. This is a 6,000 watt Onan diesel generator. You can see you have your coolant and your oil fills easily accessible. Also your windshield wiper fluid. You know, you're not going to do a lot in here other than check your fluids, but it's right here, easy to access for you. Our stock number on this unit is 5N200-007. You'd think I'd have a Sean Connery or James Bond joke, but I don't. So let's just move on. As we come around, one nice feature too, they've got this strip of LED lights. This looks really cool going down the road. This compartment here is just a small storage compartment. This coach, it's a 34T model, which means it's roughly 35.5 feet, and every little bit of storage makes a big difference in these motorhomes. As we move back here, I'm going to talk about the chassis a little bit. This is a Freightliner XCS chassis. What the S stands for is a straight rail chassis, and that's what you see right here. Now, on your heavier units, that'll typically be a raised rail chassis, which will give you more clearance in the storage compartment here. But as you can see, there is still a lot of room, both below and above the rails. Also, kind of a neat little feature. Right here, you got a place to tie up your dog. Most RVers tend to have the little dogs, and that's a great place to let them out under your awning. Back in this compartment, again, just part of your storage, and you can see between the two compartments how much room you get in there. Let's move to the back a little bit. This does have a 31-inch TV. This will pull out, and you can slant it either direction. So if you're out here under your awning enjoying the day, you can watch your favorite game. Yeah, you know, we've got a pair of awnings here, so it covers pretty much the whole coach. These are wind censored, so if you know, it starts to blow too hard, they're going to shut by themselves. Back here, another storage compartment, also with a chassis battery disconnect. You have one here and you have one inside, and this is your 2,000 watt inverter. And then in this last compartment on the passenger side is your house batteries. Those are 4 6-volt AGM batteries. Now, I talked about the chassis a little bit. You can see the XCS. It is a 340 horse, 6.7 liter Cummins engine. And one of the things I wanted to kind of point out or talk about, on these, what we would call an entry-level diesel. They do have a smaller motor than our bigger ones. It's the same engine that you'll find in a Dodge 1-ton pickup truck. But one of the reasons people go for these smaller engine diesels is because the towing is so much better than a gas coach. Typically on a gas coach, you're going to be on a V10 Ford, and they're rated at 5,000 pounds towing. This unit here actually has a 10,000 pound tow hitch. Now, that doesn't mean you can pull 10,000 pounds exactly. The chassis itself is a 26,000 pound GVW, which is gross vehicular weight, and it's got a 30,000 pound combined weight. You'd think, well, that's only 4,000 pounds of towing, but empty, this probably only weighs maybe in the 22,000 or 23,000 pound range. As you put in water and fuel and gear, you're gonna, reduce that towing capacity. But if you've got, let's say, a 5,000 or 6,000 pound boat, and you're gonna take it up and over Eisenhower Pass, on a gas engine, your V10 Ford, that has something like, 362 horsepower, actually more horsepower, but you've only got 457 foot-pounds of torque, maximum torque. In a gas engine, that's got to be at the higher RPMs to develop that torque. On a diesel engine, 340 horsepower, you have 700 foot-pounds of torque. The torque is what's going to get you up the hill. And on a diesel, they develop their peak torque at around 2,000 RPMs, which is right in the sweet spot for fuel mileage and driving. If you're going up a hill in a gas, it's going to be screaming to get up there and develop that torque. Much better towing on this. Plus, your diesel Freightliner chassis have an air ride suspension, four airbags, much more comfortable ride all the way around. As we look into the back here, you can see it is a rear radiator. And you do have all of your transmission fluid, dipsticks, engine oil, your engine oil fill. Right here's your coolant. Everything is easily accessible right here. This is your air filter gauge. You want to keep an eye on this as your filter gets dirty. It starts, pulling more and more pressure. As it gets up into the red zone, you want to change your air filter at that point. According to our Freightliner rep, Joe said that is the most commonly overlooked item on this engine is your air filter. Let's move around to the side and I'll point out a couple of things. First of all, this is a Truma tankless water heater. It is a propane water heater. And here's another feature that's kind of unique to the Winnebagos. First of all, I have my 2 chassis starting batteries down here. And then right here, you notice this fuse panel. They're actually resettable fuses. Typically, when you blow a fuse, you've got to find out which one it is, pull it, go replace it with a new fuse. These are more like a breaker. They pop out when it's tripped. All you have to do is push it in. That circuit is reset without having to replace a fuse. Kind of a nice feature. Moving up to this compartment, you can see we've got our DEF tank, diesel emission fluid. You have a gauge here. There's also a gauge on the dash to let you know when you're getting low. We have a 50 amp power cord. And then your crossover circuit with surge protector right there. It's a built-in surge protector. Moving up to the water compartment. Here's where your dump valves are. It has a whole house filter, an outside shower. You have your fresh water inlet and fill, black tank flush. You can turn your water pump on right here so you don't have to keep running into the coach when you're wanting to turn that on. And here you can see if you're filling the tank or if you're just running it off a hose, say you're at an RV park, you don't have to have water in your tank then. Another little feature, this is kind of unique to Winnebago, I'll point out, is these little cubbies here. If I'm hooked up at an RV park and I have my dump hose running down, typically you see a hole. You got to take a cap off and run it down. Same with your power cord. And, it's a little more inconvenient, where here I can just run the cord down, shut the door. When it comes time to put things away, it's a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. When I'm going down the road, I'm going to flip this up to keep the road debris out. You also have a low point drain over here. And very nice steel back door. When they close, they're solid. Up here we have the other side of our pass-through compartment. And then up at this tank, another thing, Cherish asked me about this earlier, there's no lock on this compartment, and that's because this is where your propane tank is. If there is an emergency, the fire department has to come, maybe you're not here, they've got to be able to get in here and shut that propane off. That is a 23-gallon propane tank. I believe that's 45 pounds or so. And then up here you can see your freshwater tank, your water pump. Here's your low point drains, your winterization kit with your bypass right here, all easily accessible. For those of you that do a lot of the maintenance yourself, it's really easy to winterize when it comes that time. You have a fuel fill on this side. There is one on the other side too. You have to open a compartment to get to it. And that's nice because how many times do you pull in a gas station and forget which side your gas cap's on? You can fill it from either side here. And finally, in this front compartment, again, we see our resettable fuses. Those generally are chassis related. You can see for your your wipers, your seats, things like that. And that little handle is what you pull when you want to open the hood. Another thing about these Winnebagos, I like the fact, that it is a fiberglass roof. And like I mentioned earlier, Winnebago is known for putting a lot of steel in their roll cage. All of their mounting brackets for appliances were steel. They have found out that in a rollover accident or a severe accident, more people get hurt from stuff falling out of the cabinets or appliances inside. So Winnebago goes above and beyond making a safe coach by tying everything into a steel bracket wherever possible. Well, let's move around and go inside. One of the first things I'm going to point out here as I'm going up the stairway is a control panel. So I'm going to turn my batteries. This is your other chassis battery switch. That's my house battery. And say you're coming in at night, I can turn all of my lights on right there. Same as when you're leaving, I can turn them all off right there. So let's go ahead and get them on. You could even dump your jacks and store them right here rather than up in the cockpit. Let's take a look inside and I'll open the slides up for you. Now I know my awnings are out and one of them is attached to the slide, but that doesn't matter. I can still open these up. So what we have right here in the middle, our control panel. This is a multiplex system by Firefly. So I'm just gonna, let me see. Oh, I forgot. On Winnebagos, this is another unique feature. The key has to be in and the ignition on. The engine doesn't have to be running, but I do have to have power to the ignition. Now I can come back here. You can see this slide behind me that's moving. It's got your kitchen, your washer dryer, your closet. It's actually a fairly long slide. This is only a double slide unit, but it really opens up quite nicely for a 35-foot coach. Also, this little peninsula here, you can see the slide telescopes over it, gives you a little more prep space. I'll open up my front slide. This slide's a little deeper, takes a little bit more time. Okay, let's take a look at the floor plan. First of all, you have nice theater seating right here with a couple of recliners. Nice little footrest. Directly across from your TV, and you also have an electric fireplace. Another nice feature about this, if you notice, this door was in the middle of the coach. It's called a side entry, not a front entry. Most diesels will have the door up here in front of the front tires, so your step wells coming in here. With a side entry coach, it eliminates that. A couple of nice things you've got here. Number one, you do have a footrest that you can actually put up as you're going down the road. You have a little flip-up table here. Guess I hadn't used that before, but there you go. So as you're going down the road, if you want to work on your laptop or something, you've got a nice spot for that. These seats also pivot around, become part of the living room. As long as I'm here, I'll point out a few things on the dash. First of all, this is a 2020 chassis, and 2020 Freightliner changed a few things up front. First of all, right here is where you shift the coach. It's no longer a button pad over on your left here. They designed this to keep your eyes forward. Got a little pedal here where I can tilt and telescope this. You can scroll through the gauges. You can see right here, if the engine started and I turn my dash, it's going to put it in drive or reverse. It'll tell you what gear you're in. This is a 6-speed Allison transmission. You do have a single stage engine brake. Another neat thing, you got a regular horn, but when you've got enough air, you got the big horn also. People know you're coming. You have a battery boost. What this does is it pools your house batteries and your chassis batteries. So let's say, it's been cold, I haven't started it in a while, my chassis battery's a little bit dead. I can hit that button, I can use the power in the house batteries to start it. And vice versa. If my house batteries are dead and I want to start my generator, I can actually start them off the chassis battery or start the engine up and from the alternator provide power to start that generator. Got a map light up here. You do have one shade here, and this is just a night shade. Now again, as an entry-level coach, you don't have the day-night shade up front, and these MCDs are all manual rather than like some of them are electric. You'll have a remote control. And when you consider you're spending half the price, well under $300,000 MSRP for a coach like this, it's not a whole lot more than a high-end gas coach, but you're getting the benefit of the air ride suspension, the 700 foot-pounds of torque, the comfortable drive. I mean, after a 6 or 8 hour trip, you're not as fatigued as you might be in a gas coach where it's just a shock and leaf spring suspension. Another thing over on this side you have is your levelers. And as long as we're right here, I'll talk about them a little bit. There's somewhat of a debate. Should you open slides first or should you level first? Well, if you pull in and let's say you're not on flat ground, you're a little bit on a hill. If you were to open the slides up first, you still have a square coach, pretty much perpendicular. Then you can level it, and as you're leveling it, you might be tweaking that frame a little bit. Where if you did it in reverse, if I pulled up and leveled, I've tweaked the frame. Now I'm going to go ahead and run the slides out. You can bind the slides. So I recommend that you open the slide outs first and then you level. You do that right here. It's all auto leveling. Same thing. I will dump these slides when I'm getting ready to take off. Once they're dumped, then I'll bring my slides in. That's all done right here. It does have a nice large screen. This is your backup monitor, your radio, your navigation. You can see you can Bluetooth your phone in. A lot of things you can do. I'm not going to go through them all, but if you do buy one of these from us, we do a very extensive training with you and go over all of that. As we move to the back of the coach, one more thing I'll point out. And again, I do have my ignition on, so this will work. Turn on my loft, and I can drop this down. This feature is not common in a diesel motorhome. Typically, you need a gas coach. Oop, and I just knocked my wand off for the awning there. But you can see a couple of kids could sleep up here. It's nice to have that extra sleeping in a diesel particularly. With your dinette, which folds down here, and then the queen bed in the back, you could sleep 6 people in here. I'm going to go ahead and put that up. And over here, actually, we have a Wi-Fi signal booster right here. You know, it seems like everybody wants to be able to work on the road. You have access right there. Okay, again, I pointed out the fireplace, the TV. Oh, here's a nice little feature. Here's a little table for you, a little workstation. You know, as you're going, this actually comes out, and I can put it on this side. It's kind of a nice little feature. You have a couple of USB ports on each side. Our dinette does convert to a sleeper, and like most of these, to convert it, you move your lever, you push it down. Now it's easier, of course, with the cushion up. It rests down on these cleats, but very easy to convert this down to a sleeper. And as long as I'm showing you this, I'll show you that there is storage underneath. And I like the way Winnebago does their cushions and does their dinette. Makes it really easy to get in and out of that. Some coaches you're going to see will have a pull-out drawer, which is nice, it's convenient, but keep in mind, you've got to have that rack in there to pull the drawer out. You lose room on the sides, you lose room on the top and bottom. You get a lot more storage when there isn't a drawer, actually. Got a little flip-up extension here. Real nice double sink, stainless steel sink with a pull-out sprayer here, residential style kitchen sprayer. Seldom will you find an oven anymore, so most of these are convection microwaves, and this is the 36-inch, I believe. Oh, actually, that's a 30-inch. But, you know, very nice microwave. Whenever you see metal inside, that kind of tips you off that it is a convection. You have a 3-burner propane stove. And again, not being a higher-end coach, it might have an induction cook surface. You're cooking with propane, which I prefer anyway. You can control your heat better. And it's a sealed burner stove. What that means is this bottom tray doesn't lift up. You know, a common camper stove, you got to lift this to clean underneath. But with the sealed burner stove, you don't get the food and the stuff down in there. And then you have plenty of drawers here. There's 6 right here. You've got a nice place underneath for a, you know, a trash bin or something. Let me go ahead and flip these up. Okay, moving on back. This is a residential electric refrigerator here.
With an ice maker, that's nice.
It is. The residential refrigerators have become so efficient that it's practical to run them off your battery power and the inverter, where, you know, 10 years ago you might not have seen that quite so much. Okay, we're going to step into the bathroom. And again, on a 35-foot coach, you're not going to have the large rear bathroom like some of the other models we've shown you. But Winnebago does a beautiful job. They make all their own cabinets. You know, they upholster their own furniture. They do so many things in-house. And how do you like this little feature? It looks like a simple, you know, washcloth holder, but you twist that just right, and I think your machine guns pop out. That's part of the 007 package. All right, moving into the bedroom. We do have a queen bed, and this is an air mattress bed. So I'm not going to make the mistake of calling it a Sleep Number because it's not. It's a different brand. Freedom Air is the name of this one, and you have dual controls. So, you know, you can set the comfort level to whatever you desire. Both sides does have a cell phone charger, and you also have a plug here and a little table. So people with, say, a sleep apnea machine or something like that, it doesn't matter what side of the bed. You can plug it in either side. Little storage drawer on both sides, and you also have a USB port down here. Some nice storage overhead, and you also have a panel here. It'll control your lights and let me see, your master on off. You can start your generator, stop your generator, right here laying in the bedroom. You do get another TV back here. Everybody needs 2 or 3 TVs these days, it seems like. Dual ACs, and with the 6,000 generator, you can run them both. Going back to the Firefly system, which is our multiplex, all of that is controlled right here. So, you know, you can see I have a front and a rear control. I can set my temperatures separately. You know, kick on the auto gen start, which you have on this. Maybe when it hits 75 degrees, you're camping in Moab out in BLM land. I want that air conditioner to kick on. It's not going to do it unless your generator kicks on. You can program all of that right here.
You didn't look at your washer dryer.
Yeah, one last thing. You do have the combination washer dryer. These are much nicer, or stackable washer dryer, excuse me. Your combination washer dryer, which was a nice feature when it came out, but it's a small capacity, and it takes a long time to do one load in them. So it's nice to have those separate. Back here in your wardrobe area, this is rather large. You can see some of the racks for your convection microwave. This does pass all the way through. So it gives you a lot of place for hanging clothes and so forth. And then you have 4 fairly deep drawers right here. Beautiful woodwork throughout. I like the fact that this is all done in-house at Winnebago. And you can see it's solid wood. This is not a wrapped style on your cabinet doors. Now they may have it in some other parts of the coach, but you know, this is really nice. What am I forgetting? I think I've touched all the major points. Oh, you do have a couple of fantastic fans. You've got a control here for your fan. I can turn that galley fan on. Pops up on its own. Draws a nice breeze through here. So maybe at night it's not hot enough you need an AC, but you want it to cool down. You can open a window, draw it through. That is a variable speed fan also. I can turn it up right here. And you also have one in the bathroom, operates the same way. As soon as I hit off, it's going to shut down, close by itself. So once again, this is the Winnebago Forza 34T model. I'd like to reiterate that we are starting to open up Colorado a little bit. Tomorrow is May 1st. However, we are still, practicing the social distancing. We disinfect these. We're very careful when somebody's coming to drive it, especially if somebody is elderly or might have health concerns, we'll wear masks, we'll use the disinfectant. If you want to test drive it, if you're comfortable, we can let you go on your own. It's always nice to have a salesman with you to answer questions as you go. But if you want to see a particular unit, you can let us know which one it is, and we can do a video walkthrough for you and point out all the features for you from the safety of your own home. So once again, my name's Mark Love. You can reach me at mlove@transwest.com or call me direct at 303-684-3400. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in today, and please give us your comments and please like our page. Thank you.